Yeah. Full court press. CJ. Yeah. What we talking about? 94 feet, crossover bodies, dropping J's up. Players this elite, your shots on body blocking halftime. We break it down, we gon' call your bluff, it's past time. You recognize, press. We got the heat down in Florida with the keys. Guess we the best. Magic, we flash with them fans, listen, won't see the best. Show rise from the airwaves like all stars in them stairways. Local rockin', we not stopping, got hot topics like every day. Them trades hit that deadline. My team chasing the big range. We ball, check that headline. Don't mess it up when you pick teams. The only station giving y'all that info with that real talk. Don't be trying to contest it. Go toe to toe and get wheeled off. We shooting from deeper than that report from the bleachers. If you ain't on your game, then we got something to teach you. Tie your laces up, might get shook up out of them sneakers. That triple threat, bless your eardrum straight out of your speakers. Go from that black top to the hardwood. Locker room to that press day. Got the scoop on them contracts, new prospects and best plays. NBA defined by the grind, in between the lines, full court pressing, finessing, reading signs. What we talking about? 94 feet crossover.
Good morning, basketball world. This is the Around the Association podcast, and this is the edition for Tuesday, January the 7th, 2019. And I'm your host, Danny Thompson, checking in with you on this wonderful Tuesday. Check me out on Twitter at DannyDANY Thompson, number 3 Thompson on Twitter, as well as AroundTheAssociation.com, the new and improved AroundTheAssociation.com, dropping real soon, as well as Around the Associations on Facebook page. And also check out my radio show every Saturday afternoon, Beyond the Buzz, 11 a.m. on 98.5 The Wire, talking everything Orlando and national sports to myself and a whole bunch of others, Kyle Nash and everybody in the whole crew on that one. So, not to mention, follow the podcast everywhere you're going to listen to everywhere podcasts are created. iTunes, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict. Any place you find a wonderful podcast, you'll find this one. So the NBA last night was an interesting night of games last night. There was no podcast yesterday. I was kind of under the weather yesterday, but it was a nice little schedule last night. We had 9 games on the schedule last night. Capped off. We'll start from the very top. Let's go out to Atlanta last night. Probably the most exciting game of the night out in Phillips Arena last night. The Denver Nuggets and the Atlanta Hawks played one of the more higher scoring games. Actually, one of the best games, but it was probably the most dominating game for one player in the game last night. Nikola Jokic, career high 47 points, 8 rebounds, as the Denver Nuggets took care of the Atlanta Hawks 123-115 last night. It was one of those games where Jokic did everything. Jokic was everywhere. I mean, he was hitting shots from the perimeter. He finished the game 16 of 25 from the floor. He got to the free throw line 16 times, knocked down 4 3-pointers. He contributed 8 rebounds and his typical 5 assists of the night. Will Barton chipped in 29 points, 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. Jamal Murray had 16 points, 8 assists for Denver. On the Atlanta side of things, Trae Young 29 and 12. Kevin Huerter had 22 points, 8 rebounds. They also got 16 points from Deontay Hunter. But this was a game that was pretty much Nikola Jokic in the morning, Nikola Jokic in the evening. Nikola Jokic was everywhere. Jokic was just putting the pause to Bruno Fernando with footwork, moving everywhere across the court. Jokic, the 47 was a career high. He had career high 41 going into this game. And really the big play was his putback to give Denver a 5-point lead with about 3:15 left in the game. Denver at that point pretty much pulled away. It wasn't much the Hawks could do at that point. The Hawks got the lead as close to 3 points early in the fourth quarter. But like I said, it was just too much Jokic everywhere across the court. Will Barton knocked down some huge shots down the stretch. And this was a big victory for the Denver Nuggets. Fresh off one of the worst nights, one of the worst games of the year, literally, in 2020, losing to the Washington Wizards 2 nights earlier. They're 25 and 11. They're the second best team in the Western Conference. Atlanta falls 8 and 29 on the season. Also out in Washington last night, speaking of the Wizards beat the Boston Celtics. I mean, right after beating the Denver Nuggets, they beat a Boston Celtics team 99-94. And the part of the Wizards last night was this Wizards team was shorthanded again last night. There was no Bradley Beal. There was no Thomas Bryant. And yes, the Celtics didn't have Kemba Walker, but yet and still, this is a game the Celtics should have won. 27 points from Ish Smith off the bench led the Wizards last night. Walker missed the game with the flu, but it was pretty much Ish Smith doing things off the bench. He had 27 last night, 32 against Denver the night before. I mean, you even hear the fans chanting MVP. I know it's kind of funny, but still. It was 14. He had 14 points in the fourth quarter, including 1 point where he knocked down 10 straight points. The Wizards played, like I said, shorthanded last night. They did everything they could, but outside Jaylen Brown's 23 points and 12 rebounds, it wasn't a good night for the Celtics all the way around. Jason Tatum shot 8 of 20. Gordon Hayward only finished 3 of 11 from the floor. Marcus Smart was 3 for 14 shooting in the game. This was a great defensive job by the Wizards last night, holding the Celtics to 34.7% shooting from the floor. Like I said, Ishmael's 27 led them. Isaiah Thomas had 17 in his course against former team. Troy Brown Jr. 15 points, 9 rebounds in the game too. Jordan McRae had 19 points. But like I said, this was the Wizards being the Wizards. The Wizards showing defense. They won the last 2 games against 2 of the better teams in the NBA. Shot the ball 47% from the floor last night in the Wizards' victory last night. Out in Charlotte, we'll go from top to bottom for the rest of the games of the schedule. The Indiana Pacers 115, Charlotte 104 last night. TJ Warren scored a season-high 36 in the game. It was so much TJ Warren in this game. He being from the area, he played college ball at NC State. He was born in Durham. This was a game, once again, where the Hornets give up a big game in front of somebody's friends and family. Gordon had 30 of his 36 in the second half. It was a game where actually Indiana was down at the half. Huge third quarter, 37-21 run in the third quarter, put this game away. And Warren was just flushing it where 15 and 24 from the floor. Just was completely aggressive. Domantas Sabonis had 18 points, 12 rebounds. Also for the Pacers of the game, Hornets were led by last night. Terry Rozier's 28 points and 6 rebounds. Devontae Graham, 22 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists for the Buzz last night. But could not stop TJ Warren. Warren was phenomenal last night. In Orlando, Markelle Fultz took the game over. Yes, the Magic and their fans had a chance to see what Markelle Fultz is really all about. He's been trying to find consistency with his shot. Last night was just brilliant last night. 25 points in his career-high effort as the Magic beat the Brooklyn Nets 101-89 to now take over the 7th spot in the Eastern Conference right now. Fultz 11 of 20 from the floor, 4 assists, 2 steals, 5 rebounds. He did everything. He got to the rim. This was the game that you looked for Markelle Fultz to have. This is what Magic fans have been waiting on for so long. Nikola Jokic, 11 points and 24 rebounds for the Magic in the game. And the crazy part is the Magic pulled away in the fourth quarter after going almost 10 minutes without a field goal. Joe Harris suspension did when he had 16 points in the game. DJ Augustine had 16 points off the bench for the Magic. The problem was the Nets just struggled, could not continue shooting the basketball very well. They got Magic almost blew a lead, but it was a lot of Markelle Fultz just being super aggressive. This was the game that Markelle Fultz had been expecting. The Nets did not have Karis LeVert. He should be playing on Tuesday. Kyrie Irving, of course, is still out and will be out for the foreseeable future. Other games on the schedule last night, out in Philadelphia, Joel Embiid dislocates his finger, but still has almost a triple-double as the Philadelphia 76ers beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 120-113. Embiid dislocated his finger early part of the game, finished 18 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Ben Simmons, 17 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists. Josh Richardson had a team-high 23 points in the game. This was all about the Sixers getting past and using every other option other than Embiid. It was an ugly game. Embiid played through it, taped it, played through it. This is what people talk about. Embiid's toughness last night was a huge step towards changing that narrative about the toughness last night. Sixers snapped a 4-game losing streak. Like I said, it was a huge game for the Sixers last night. Thunder were led by Steven Adams, who had a game-high 24 points and 15 rebounds. Dennis Schroeder had 21 points and 4 assists off the bench for the Thunder. The Sixers are now 24-14 on the season. Thunder's now dropped down to a nice little 20-16. Still controlling the 8th spot in the West. Still controlling the last playoff spot in the Western Conference. Out in New Orleans last night, the Jazz took care of the return. Derek Favors against his former team, using Bojan Bogdanovic's 35 points to lead the Jazz to a 128-126 victory over the Pelicans last night. Game came down to the very end. Brandon Ingram could not get past Rudy Gobert. Gobert impeded his way in the final part of the game. And guess what? Jazz won their 6th straight game last night. Bogdanovic was phenomenal in the game. 35 points. Joe Ingles added 22 points. The Jazz have won 11 of their last 12. A lot of this was without Mike Conley, who's still out with a hamstring injury. This game could be part of the NBA 2-Minute Report because it was kind of questionable at the end of the game. 2 guys, Gobert and Ingram's body, both connected, but the Eiffel Tower stuffed Brandon Ingram again. Ingram finished the game with 35 points, 8 rebounds to lead the Pelicans in the game. They got 21 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists from Lonzo Ball in the game. The Pelicans did play this game out Drew Holiday, who was out with an injury. Out in Dallas last night, Luka Doncic with another 30-plus point triple-double, 38 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, as Dallas Mavericks beat the Chicago Bulls 118-110 last night in Dallas. This was Luka Moore, Luka in the afternoon, Luka in the summertime. If you remember, listen to Zach LaVine's pregame about how Luka's unstoppable, yeah. It was the fact of Luka had 21 points in the third quarter. At one point, he scored 17 as Dallas' 19 points to end the third quarter. And that 17 points happened in the final 5 minutes and 35 seconds of the game. That would have been it was a tie game that was broken wide open. Doncic is just doing things that I think it was his 10th or 11th career 30-point triple-double before turn 21, something like it was. Doncic for this season hit 20 points for the second time in a quarter this season. He was just knocking down threes and did everything he could. Dwight Powell 16 points on a perfect night from the floor. The Mavericks did not have Kristaps Porzingis again. Right, knee soreness. Should be back by midweek. Lauri Markkanen had 26 points for the Bulls last night. Bulls tried to keep in it throughout the game. Also for the Bulls, I know it's not really a big thing, but Tomas Satoransky had a career high 14 assists. Now, other games on the schedule last night. We had 2 more games on the schedule last night. The Milwaukee Bucks lose on the road. I know this is a blowout fashion, 126-104 over the Milwaukee Bucks. Spurs took care of business. DeMar DeRozan, 25.7 rebounds. Giannis at 24-12. Spurs dominated this game. Took the game open. Really blew this game open in the, what quarter was it? They blew the game open in the third quarter. Actually, in the second quarter, took a 5-point lead in the quarter, outscored him. It was up by 13 at the break. Pulled away in the fourth quarter. It was really mostly DeMar DeRozan shooting mid-range shots, and it was huge. Also, on top of that, the Spurs did now 19 of 35 from the three-point line this season. Patty Mills hit 6 of those three-pointers. Rudy Gay and LaMarcus Aldridge knocked down a combined 4 apiece. Giannis had 24 and 12 and 8 assists, but it was really too much of the Bucks last night, not just stopping the three-point shot from the Spurs. Spurs, like I said, knocked down 19 as a team last night. You can't win when a team's knocking down 19 three-pointers. If you want to put it in perspective, 9 guys hit three-pointers last night for the Spurs. That should tell you how deep this game was last night. Final game on the schedule last night in the NBA. You had the Sacramento Kings take care of the Golden State Warriors 111-98. Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox both had 21 points in the game. Trevor Ariza had a season-high 18 for the Kings. Of course, it was a good game for Ariza, showing the fact that he still can play at 34 years old, and even had a complete slam. If you watch it on YouTube, a huge dunk in the game. Harrison Barnes also had 18 points as well. Kings led by as many as 31, giving the ability for the Kings to rest their starters on the stretch. It's kind of interesting when you see Kings resting starters in the middle of the season. Interesting. The Warriors were led by Glenn Robinson, 16 points and 5 rebounds for the Warriors last night. All right, so we get to the NBA's Tuesday schedule, a little bit lighter of a schedule than we had on Monday night. Was a 5-game schedule tonight. 2 national TV games. We'll start on NBA TV at 7:30. You got the Thunder and the Nets back-to-back for both teams. Both teams coming off disappointing losses. The Nets have got to find their shooting stroke. Spencer Dinwiddie and Joe Harris struggled from the floor last night in Orlando. They need to bounce back against the Thunder team, who had just lost a Sixers team that had Joel Embiid had a dislocated finger. Chris Paul has been really, really good and a surprising, quiet type of season out in Oklahoma City. One of the best fourth quarter efficiency guys and scorers in the entire league. Other national TV game will be a late game, Knicks and Lakers. This game should not be pretty. Lakers should blow this game open. The Lakers 29-7 against the 20-26 Knicks. Julius Randle gets to return back to Los Angeles after playing a few years with the Lakers. That's pretty much the only storyline. Expect the Lakers to dominate this game. With LeBron James, Anthony Davis. Davis had 8 blocks the other night. I think him and JaVale McGee combined for 14 blocks on Sunday night, which allowed JaVale McGee to go through some kind of drug testing afterwards because he had 6 blocks in 20 minutes. Other games on the schedule, the Pistons and Cavs. Well, we've got the reports of Blake Griffin potentially missing the rest of the season with a knee injury and having potential surgery. They also got the Andre Drummond trade rumors. This is not going to be a pretty game for the Pistons. But the good news, they're playing the Cavs team who can't defend anybody on the perimeter. Should be a nice up and down affair. In Toronto, the Raptors take on the struggling Blazers. Blazers need to start finding themselves, because otherwise, if they can't get this going together, even when Yusuf Nurkic and Zach Collins come back, it might not even be worth an effort to make a playoff run. Blazers are 15-22. They need to start winning some games. The Raptors, led by Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet, along with Kyle Lowry, the Raptors can start getting themselves back in better shape and getting the flow of things. This could be a potential blowout in Toronto tonight. Out in Memphis, the Grizzlies take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're still unsure about Karl Anthony Towns' injury situation. Is he still going to be out? If not, if he is going to be out, Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark should be able to feast on Gorgie Deng, who's actually putting up some better numbers since he's getting actual playing time. The Grizzlies are led by Ja Morant, one of the best rookies in the NBA. Spoiler alert, due to the dunk contest. Out in Phoenix, the final game of that we'll go over will be the Kings and the Suns. Out in Phoenix, two teams that are really at the same point in the Western Conference standings. The Kings and the Suns the Suns are up by a half game in this stretch, because right now everybody's trying to catch the Spurs right now, who is a game and a half in front of everybody. Spurs are 15-20, but hold the last spot in the Western Conference. The Grizzlies can keep track, but this game is huge for both teams, because the Suns and the Kings don't want to fall too far back, because really when you're only two games out of that spot, when you're in mid-January, you still got plenty of time to come back. And remember, the Kings still only have Marvin Bagley in the lineup, still out for a couple more weeks, and the Suns are just now getting back DeAndre Ayton. So that's what your night in the NBA is looking like. That's what last night in the NBA. Follow me on Twitter at DannyD8NY number 3 Thompson on Twitter, as well as around the association's website and around the association's Facebook page as well too. Check us out tomorrow. We'll have more to talk about. And I might even drop an additional podcast this week talking about NBA and their trade rumors. So for myself, this is around the association. Cam James is going to take you out with my good friends at Trackaholics in Valor. Peace.
Trackaholic music. Go for launch. Yeah. Full court press. CJ. Yeah. Well.